So today we're going to be doing a little bit of Bluetooth modding so that whatever music's on my phone, I can just pair it to this CD player. We're going to be doing that by soldering in a Bluetooth chip. Then I can listen to my music, and yet we're still going to have that stock aesthetics. Now I have done this before on a similar era Honda Acura CD player. I've done it on this style before. Basically I did this same thing on my 98 2.3 CL. It was pretty easy to do it on this one because when you pop off the back panel, what's really nice is everything was actually labeled on there. So I could see on the socket that the CD drive plugs into right channel in, left channel in, and speaker ground, which is really all you need to know to do this. So the points that we're going to access, that we're going to solder into, they are just under the bottom panel on these CD units, so you don't have to take too much apart. Looks like in this case, I think it's just going to be these two screws that are holding it on. So we're going to go ahead and pull that out. These cords have right channel, left channel, and speaker ground, which then conveniently goes to mini jack plug. Now mini jack is what is going to plug into your Bluetooth board. The Bluetooth board that I'm using is the EM1. So when I did this mod on my CL CD player, I tested a whole bunch of these different Bluetooth boards, and this one by far sounds the best for this type of application at least. So I recommend using this Bluetooth board, and again, this will be linked in the description. Now some of the boards I tested do this.
The Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
Oh boy, is it going to do that every time? That's going to be annoying. I don't want to listen to that every time. I'm not going to use one of those ones. So we're going to end up having the Bluetooth board 3M taped onto the backing plate. This cord, it'll pop out right through here. That's kind of the only place that there's enough room for the cord to come through. So we want to position this. So red is right channel, white is left channel, black is speaker ground. I think we're gonna start with my left channel. So I want those ones out of my way just for now. Okay, and see I've even kind of taped that white wire into place. I've got it making contact with we're calling it 0.4. That's just how it's labeled on the motherboard. Again, that's left channel. All right, so hit the area with a little dab of flux. Well, that's, Jesus. I find that using a curved tip like that on your soldering iron makes it a lot easier for this kind of circuit board soldering. And I had a little bit of solder dabbed on the tip of my soldering iron, and then you just want to melt the solder on the point and just kind of melt the wire into it. So next, let's see if we can get a speaker ground connected. Which for speaker ground, I guess we want to do something like that. Just my electrical tape's not going to stick very well because of this flux mess. But. All right, yes, never mind that. Here we go. Whoa. Okay, we got speaker ground in, and right channel, let's go. So that piece there is going to be to guide this wire through this little opening here. That's going to be the only place that's wide enough for the cord to come through once you have the backing plate back on. I do like to put a piece of electrical tape over the actual sockets as well. I don't want to look at my terrible soldering. That looks better. Got my Bluetooth board. So we can see we've got this coming out here. I think I'm going to put it like right here. Like I said earlier, these boards will take a micro USB input for power. We don't want to just take power from wherever on your car and put it directly to the board because that's most likely going to be 12 volts and these take 5 volts, not 12 volts. But you can buy one of these that go from micro USB to regular USB, and of course we could plug it into a car charger and get power that way. That's what these USB car chargers essentially do, is step it down from 12 volts to 5 volts. But we want everything to be behind the dash and not visible, and we want to still be able to use our 12 volt accessory socket. So we will tap into power from that, but then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take apart a simple little car charger like this, take our 12 volt power from the car, put it into the chip that's in here, the little board. We'll plug this into here, like that, and then we can just plug this in there. So I find it really easy to do on this style car charger specifically, and these are really cheap. And this one actually happened to be in my Civic when I bought it, so that's just perfect. Whatever the case is, whatever kind of USB car charger you're using, they'll all work, doesn't matter. But on these ones, there's a little screw that you take out. And then once that screw is out, we're literally just gonna kind of break it apart. I guess probably want to take this front piece off first. There we go. Get that out of the way. Now I can kind of split this, see? And yeah, just break that case right off. And then you're gonna see like this little spring, all this stuff comes out. We're not gonna use any of that. So right there, that's power into the board. And then these exterior tabs, these were for the ground. We are actually gonna just break these off because you're not gonna use these. Oh, well, that was easy. Right there was power in. See that little hole there? There's actually a little G next to it. So that's actually ground. So this big set point here, that's power in. So we're gonna solder a wire into there for power. And then we're gonna solder a wire into that little point for ground. So we're gonna get ourselves some wire. So just go ahead and cut yourself just a little length of wire, and you'll see what we do with the other end when we actually go down to the car. So now we're gonna do our ground. Let's get some solder on it. It's not pretty, but it should work. And we're gonna just wrap it up here in some electrical tape for two reasons. Number one, when we have this behind the dash, we don't want it to accidentally hit anything metal, since it's not in any kind of case anymore. And number two, I don't wanna look at my soldering. So then basically what's gonna happen in the car is this is gonna be plugged into this, just like that. And then this is going to be plugged into here. And basically I'm gonna cut into the wires that go to the power outlet. But because of the way that we're getting power and the way that we're grounding this, this is gonna cause a ground loop. What'll happen is you'll get a lot of interference noise. You'll actually hear the sound of the disc spinning. You'll hear like alternator whine, and it's just not gonna sound very good. So what you do is you buy one of these. This is a ground loop noise isolator. Again, they're very inexpensive, and I'll link them in the description. So we're gonna plug this into our ground loop isolator, and then this goes into our Bluetooth chip. And then that should eliminate the ground noise loop problem, and it should actually sound pretty good. What's cool about this whole setup as well is if you think about it, if at some point we want to change the Bluetooth board, maybe this one stops working or some newer, better one comes out, maybe you want to install one that actually also has phone calling capability. All of this stuff is pretty easily removable, right? Just by having this mini jack wire soldered into our CD player, now the board, the power supply, the ground noise loop isolator, everything can be removed without having to open this up again and mess with that touchy soldering that, trust me, once you get it to work, you don't want to have to touch it again. That's the connector that plugs into the back of our power outlet, and I just cut into it and I tapped in the power and ground wires that are then going to our car charger that we took apart to step it down to 5 volts and then go into the Bluetooth board, and then those are just the wires that go back up into the car harness, and then that'll plug into the back of our power outlet. So that's where we tapped in for power and ground right there. As you guys know, we soldered that into our CD channels, so we need to switch it over to CD mode, but there's no way to activate the CD channels without actually playing a CD in these. So you're gonna need to burn a CD with a silent audio track. I didn't really talk much about actually burning the CD in my other video because I just kind of assumed everyone knew how to burn audio discs, because back in the 2000s, burning mixed CDs to listen to in your cars was what we all did. But I guess some of you aren't old enough to have done that, so just check me into the retirement home, I guess. Anyways, I know computers don't come with CD drives anymore, but you can still buy USB CD burners. They're not too expensive. And then for the disc, you need a blank CDR. You can still buy those on Amazon. but make sure you get CDRs. CDRWs will not work. And then when you actually burn the disc, you'll have to download some kind of CD burning software. Here's one I downloaded for Mac. It was free. I just did a quick Google search and found it. So there's plenty of free ones out there. But make sure that when you're burning it, you burn it as an audio disc. Don't burn it as an MP3 CD. These old school CD players can't read MP3s. The other thing is the audio will only be playing when your audio track is playing. So just burn one audio track and then the CD player will just play it over and over again. These ones automatically repeat. To make it easy for you guys, I've already made a silent track and I'll link it in the description so you can just download it and then, like I'm doing here, just drag and drop it into your CD burning software, burn it as an audio disc. You'll notice that I've done one track and I've made it fairly long. It's 35 minutes. This is because every time the track ends and repeats, the audio does drop for a split second as it restarts the CD. This is why you don't want to burn multiple tracks, because then your audio will drop every time the track changes, and also why you don't just burn one track that's only a couple minutes, because that's going to get really annoying if every few minutes your audio is dropping out for a second. So let me know what you guys think of this mod, and to answer a couple of frequently asked questions, yes, you can still listen to the radio, yes, you can still listen to regular CDs, and yes, you can have Google Maps read you turn-by-turn directions.